But when it comes to the constellations, there's something different that happens. This is quite unique and requires a lot more study, but I just want to present it so you see it. What the southern hemisphere, when it touches the constellations in the southern in the constellations are different sizes. So touching the constellation of Leo, of the Lion, is going to be at a different time than the North Hemisphere equinox touches the Northern Hemisphere constellation of Aquarius. They are not synced in time. There's different timings of the actual constellations. They're synced by the sidereal zodiac of the equal mathematical divisions. But when you take the actual constellations, there are different timings. So these timings should be added in to historical evaluations. So the age of Leo begins in 2524 AD, when the first star in the southern hemisphere, Zero Aries, touches the first star in Leo. Now in the southern hemisphere, the zodiac's moving clockwise and the constellations are moving would seem to be moving counterclockwise. So the actually thing moves counterclockwise through the zodiac in the southern clock. Yeah, it's clockwise through the northern hemisphere, southern clockwise. Yeah, so they move backwards through the signs. So the age of Aquarius, the age of Leo began. What was it? It was begins in 2524 AD. The age of Aquarius begins in 2703. So that's a fairly big gap. 2524 to 2703. So almost a 200-year gap between when the age of Leo happens for the southern hemisphere and the age of Aquarius begins by constellations in 2703. This is always, I got 03. You could say within 3 or 4 years or 4 or 5 years, somewhere close to that. That's what I had to, when I calculated this, that's what I had with the computers. Now they might have a specific date. It might be a year on either side of that. So, okay, it's close enough. But you can see how it's touching the first star in Aquarius. It's past, you see the purple shaded thing, it's 5-6 degrees past the sidereal age of Aquarius. This is the constellational age of Aquarius, which is far yet to come. And the edge, so that's 2703, and it's not till 4704, the end of Leo, the constellation of Leo. The southern hemisphere, Zero Aries point, hits the end of Leo, the constellation of Leo. That would be the end of the age of Leo. The sidereal Leo would have ended, I think we have that up ahead, but anyways. So you'll see it touching Leo, but it's already 600 years earlier, went out of the sidereal Leo into sidereal Cancer, but it was still in the stars of Leo. In the northern hemisphere, the constellation of the age of Pisces ends at 28. So they overlap for about 100 and some odd years. The last star, first star in Aquarius comes before the end of the last star in Pisces. So where the age of Pisces, when the age of Aquarius began constellation-wise in 2703, when it touched that first star, when it gets to the last star in Pisces, it's 2816. Now, was it 28? Yeah, 2816. Okay, so we're looking at the sidereal zodiac. When the sidereal zodiac, when it moves into sidereal, the Zero Aries point moves into sidereal Capricorn, from Aquarius into Capricorn. It's not in the constellation of Capricorn yet, but when it starts the sidereal zodiac, it's at 4525 AD. But in the southern hemisphere, it would be, yeah, it's the same date, but it would be moving into the constellation of, into the sidereal constellation of Cancer. So it would be Capricorn, Cancer. But the age of Capricorn, so the sidereal age of Capricorn, excuse me, 4525. Just watch, see where it points there. Now we're going to see when it touches, it moves up to touch the first star in Aquarius, just a couple of degrees later. So 4525 goes along to 4612. It touches the first star in Capricorn. The age of the goat begins. Okay, so let's just get the year. I mean, 4612, the age of the goat begins. But the age of the constellation, the age of Cancer, the age of the crab doesn't begin till 5198. So that's how many years difference? 46, 51. So you're talking almost 500 years difference. Then the age of Cancer, sidereal age of Cancer for the southern hemisphere begins. So this is what's happening here. So the southern hemisphere Cancer. This is zodiac. Aries. It's a wrong drawing. This has. Yeah, this is really the end of the age of Leo. We have something wrong there. Leo ends. I've repeated the slide by mistake. Okay, so we should be over a little bit more, just to the first star in Cancer, in the crab. So that the date is right at the end of so that was 5198. I did all these on Photoshop. These aren't computer generated, so that's why there's errors. Check as much as I can. Little things happen. There's a lot of detail to put these things together. Okay, one day we'll have these charts as part of a program where you can just run them off and get them. That day is not yet. So the end of the Cancer ends at 5918, which touches the last star in Cancer. Just going to make a note. Constellations, Cancer, age of Cancer begins. Okay, just going to make a note to fix this. Okay, thank you. Okay, 59. So that's the end of Cancer is 5918. This is the southern hemisphere. And then there's a big gap, and it's not till the age of Capricorn in the northern hemisphere ends 6028, but the age of Cancer ended in 59. So, okay, they're just out of kilter a little bit. Yeah, so that's, I could go around, but I just did this a little bit to show you there's remarkable distinctions between the two that almost require a different look at history, or a different slice of history, or a different way of looking at this. When it's like, if you're thinking of if you're thinking from the northern hemisphere terms, if you think from the age of Pisces, Virgo, you have the faith of Christianity, of Islam, of all the faith religions really building up during this period, and but often they're involved. Like Christianity had the virgin child, the Virgo, on the other side. So just associations, intuitive, mythological associations that we're up on this level of looking at things. But there's a lot of room for observing this. I just got the times to show that this is so, that these different timings are there. So you can see it. So, yeah. Okay. So now we're going through what we saw once before. This shows first the northern hemisphere signs to the sidereal zodiac to the actual constellations. So here we see the tropical Gemini. It's mostly, except for the last 6 or 7 degrees, these charts were done for 1950. Not for now, they shifted a degree since. So the bull, most of the bull's head is overhead of the tropical Gemini, and part of the bull is in tropical Taurus. but the Ram is completely within the tropical Taurus. But the sidereal Taurus, here's the division. So the sidereal Taurus, it fits in where most of the bull is, but there's a bit sticking out the edge. Like the horn comes right to the edge of sidereal Taurus, but the body part goes down just a little bit into Aries. But in sidereal Aries, it has the part of Taurus, it has all of the Ram, it has a big part of the fish. It's in that Aries point. The tropical Aries has the fish in it. The Ram has already moved on into Taurus, making perhaps Taurus is a little bit more rambunctious or impulsive, impatient, to have the Ram qualities. See, part of the problem was when these two aligned 2,000 years ago, when they were aligned, well, not quite 2020, 2028, many of the teachings, they could teach the sign of the zodiac and the sidereal zodiac. They were the same. The systems weren't conflicting with each other. It's only been in the last 1,000 years it's really become more distinct differences between the sidereal and tropical zodiac and the different branches of astrology. But tropical Aries has the fish over it, but the sidereal Pisces has most of the fish in it. But again, the fish is bigger than, it goes outside of both sides of the sidereal Pisces. Okay. Now, what I was just going through, so this northern hemisphere, they move from right to left. So tropical Cancer has the twins within it, but their sidereal Gemini has the twins within it completely, and a big empty space. But it's just the sidereal zodiac. The sidereal zodiac has the Gemini, but that's inside tropical Cancer now. So whether you say that's a bit more double-sided worries or worries on both sides, we add a twin element to it. But the sidereal Cancer has the crab within, but the crab is only a small 11-degree constellation. Lots of areas on both sides of it, but it's totally within the sidereal Cancer, but it's inside the tropical Leos now. So do the northern hemisphere Leos have a bit of a crabby side to them? If they get what they want or don't what they get, do they have that element in it? Hard to say. Like, this is associations to wonder about. The sidereal Leo has the constellation of Leo mostly in it, has a little bit of Virgo, and it's missing part of the head and the front paw. Okay, that's the sidereal, but there's Regulus. And as we talked before, Regulus now, this past year, this has shifted over. So Regulus now has just moved into Virgo. So this process has shifted. The top would have shifted to the right over the constellation, so it was slided and progressed so that the heart of the lion, right on the ecliptic line, would just be in Virgo now. That's a big shift. Somewhat noticeable one, although not many people are. Some people are aware of it, not much. And there's stuff people have written about it. If you Google it, you can find it. But the tropical Virgo now has the heart of the lion in it, the analytical, the detailed. As we got our computer, internet, mental age, our kids are wired to games and computers and systems. Whew, it's got really different than when it was in the Leo, which was the show and the video and the movie and the seeing things, but not such detail. Okay, and but the last part of Virgo still has 5 or 6 degrees of the constellation of Virgo. The head of the Virgin is right in there.